You ever finish a mix that sounds amazing in the studio, and then you play it in the car or on your phone or anywhere else, and it just feels way off? I've always trusted my ears, but these visual analyzers are some of the most helpful tools I've ever added to my workflow. Now, I never second guess my mix on my low end, and my tracks translate everywhere. Just to be clear, I don't mix by looking, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't look while I'm mixing. So let's take a look at these analyzers. But why listen to me?
I've toured 33 countries, had multiple number ones on Beatport, signed hundreds of records to the world's top labels like Armada, Spinnin', Toolroom, Defected, as Bassclef and Analog Soul. And since 2016, I've been helping producers like you finish great songs fast and get a pro sound.
Alright, so here's how I do it. I use two special analyzer tools and kind of a third one, which I'm going to get to in a certain technique. Now over here on the left, I got a referencing plugin, which you might have seen on my channel before. This is Reference 2 by Mastering the Mix. This one's great because we can load in lots of different tracks here and we can quickly compare them. And it will even show me visually the EQ curve difference between my song and the reference track as well. Over on the right hand side, we have Vision 4X, which has 4 different analyzers, but the main two I'm using is this Spectrogram here and this frequency analyzer with this guideline curve. This lets me know roughly where my frequencies should be hitting based on certain genres. You can select them from here that they've picked out from supposedly well-mixed tracks, seems to track, but you can make your own as well too. The left-hand side on the spectrogram, I mostly use that for checking the low end because I can very clearly see what's happening with my kick and my bass. Let's play some music and see what they look like. So you can see through here these big red blobs. These are my kick drums. You can see the bass line moving around here. It's kind of like temperature, the way I've got it set up. This setup is similar to one of the built-in presets here, but I've tweaked it and customized it to make it more workable for me. And by the way, if you want to get this preset, I'll put a link down below where you can get all my analyzer presets for a bunch of different ones. It's all free. But let's talk through why these are so magical. And it's important that they're running in this order. The reference plugin should be before the analyzer. Actually, I'd often even have a mono plugin in between them as well too, so let's switch that on as well too, so we're not getting distracted by anything to do with the stereo difference between the song we're working on and everybody else's song, because the main thing you use these for is to dial in the volume balance of your instruments and the EQ for fine-tuning them. So when I'm playing my track, the first thing I can see is what is the frequency difference between my track and all the reference tracks as I flick through them. I can't play these reference tracks right now because of YouTube copyright though. So that gives me a little bit of a tip off straight away if something looks a little wacky, especially if multiple tracks all say the same thing. Like if they all say, I don't have enough mids, or if they all say I've got too much bass. Now the cool thing is that this is running straight into the analyzer. So not only can I see what my track looks like, but I can see what theirs look like. Tell you what, I'll turn the sound off so I can play it and you can see the image change. Let's try this. So there's my track there, and let's flick to another track. See how the kick drums are changing? Here's another one here, different kicks, and you can see the bass lines coming in between with their harmonics. We'll do this in a minute with a different genre with drum and bass as well too. We'll talk about that. But this is the interesting thing because not only can I see what my track looks like on this frequency over time graph, this heat map, I can compare it to what my reference tracks look like as well. Because just seeing your own track is one thing, but being able to compare it to well-chosen, well-mixed tracks, now it starts to get really useful. And I know this looks a little weird when you look at this at first, this kind of heat vision thing, but trust me, you do get used to it. And like I said, the most common thing I'm using this spectrogram for is to double check my kick. Like, is it a good kick? Is it hitting in the right frequency, the right kind of punch and things like that too? And how it relates to my bass line, even just basically the volume as well. Now I can feel all this stuff in my sub pack, no problem, and hear it in my headphones, but this is what I'm talking about. These are just such handy little assistants to be like your little studio buddy that can tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, that looks a little strange. Should we double check that? And this stuff is super helpful because music production can be complicated enough, right? So we're always looking for ways to make it easier and more consistent and get those pro results fast. Like I always say, music production and mixdown does not have to be difficult if you do it the right way. So yeah, used together, they give me a second set of eyes on what my ears are already hearing. Okay, but here's the catch. If your song and your reference aren't at a consistent volume, your analyzer is going to mislead you. Even from day to day, if you're working on one song one day and it's kind of quiet, and the next day you're working on a song that's louder, it's going to look different on the analyzer. One's going to look hotter, one's going to look colder, as in louder and quieter, and it's going to be really hard for you to learn what they look like. So to get the most out of these, and before I do any comparisons, I always set my master to a consistent loudness. So for most house and tech house kind of stuff, it's usually around about -8 LUFS using a limiter. If you're not sure about what volume to master to for Spotify and stuff, by the way, I've got videos about this on the channel. And maybe sometimes if it's drum and bass, we might even be pushing it hard up to even close to -5, although I don't always recommend that. It's case by case scenario. But either way, I'm seeing them at the same volume every time I'm seeing them, so I know what they're meant to look like. I'm learning it. It's really important that you're consistent with this, otherwise the information you're getting off the screen is useless. So to achieve this, you just want to make sure you've got your limiter running before and bringing it up to a level of, say, -8 or whatever you're aiming for your particular genre. Personally, I really like the DMG limitless limiter, but it's far from essential. Use whatever you want. We're here to talk about analyzers today. So once you've made sure your song is always at that same volume when you're taking these measurements, the next important thing is using this kind of reference plugin because it constantly matches the volume of your song to all the other songs. There are some other ones out there that can do something similar, but as far as I can tell, you have to press rematch every single time, whereas this is just constantly doing it, so it just makes life easy for me. I don't have to think about it. Because your song will get louder and quieter as you adjust things like the kick, the bass, all sorts of stuff in your song, so you don't want to have to think about adjusting your reference tracks. Just let it do it automatically. So now our song is always at the same volume, our reference tracks are always at the same volume, so then what we're looking at on the screen starts to become very useful. So let's flick over to another genre, I'll say, and we'll check out a little bit of drum and bass here as well too, and you'll see the curve actually changes for the recommendation. And let's play. Oh, I'll just load up my drum and bass references now too. And let's. So in this one, you can see the different types of kicks, that sort of angled vibe, and it's not so deep and extended. We can see our bass line happening in between as well. It's just crazy being able to see this detail of what's happening in your low end, especially when so many people don't have sub packs or subwoofers or an accurate listening environment for the low end. It's no wonder so many people struggle getting their low end right because they don't have any way to monitor it or measure it. Now, if I was working on the couch on small headphones or even on my laptop speakers, I could pull this open and it's going to really help me out. It wouldn't maybe not be perfect, but it's going to help me a lot. Even if it's just as simple as making sure that the volume of my kick and my bass are relatively in the same spot. Because on a regular Spectrum analyzer, you can see your overall bass level for the whole song, but it doesn't tell you the relative level between your kick and your bass line. But this thing does. And when you can compare it to your other reference tracks, then you can get a rough idea of what you should be aiming for. As long as you pick good reference tracks, and if you're not sure how to do that, I have a video on the channel. So yeah, it's about learning what balance looks like, what good mix looks like, and so I can cross-check my own decisions. I might have a thought about adjusting something and I can double-check the meter and see, does the meter agree with me? Or sometimes I disagree with it too. If I have to choose, I will always trust my ears over the meter, but the meter is really helpful. Especially when I've been looping a section for way too long and my ears are starting to get a little tired and fatigued. But here's the thing, none of this actually works unless you actually understand what you're looking at and when to trust it. That's why I teach a full system in my course, Pro Sound Secrets. These tools and all tools are only as useful as the techniques we put behind them. And this analyzer trick or combination trick is just one piece of a much bigger workflow. Now, if you want a deeper walkthrough of how I use Vision 4X or this reference plugin, let me know down in the comments, or if you have any other questions about it as well too. And if you're ready to stop second guessing every mix down decision, join the waitlist for Pro Sound Secrets. Links in the description down below.